TelecomTV, where ICT connects.
Hello, welcome to TelecomTV. My name's Martyn Warwick and I'm reporting this time from the SDN and OpenFlow World Congress 2013 in the spa town of Bad Homburg in Germany. I'm talking with Gerry Feeney of NEC Europe. Gerry, welcome. Good to see you again. Let's talk about the show to begin with. Nice place to have it. Very genteel town. What are you doing here?
Well, this year we're a platinum sponsor. We're very proud to be taking a much bigger role. We started with the Open Networking Foundation workshop on the first day, and my colleague Danielle Abadessa gave a joint talk with Telefonica on the combined R&D collaboration we're doing with them, and indeed on a very interesting trial we're doing on virtualized CPE. Perhaps I can say a bit more about that later.
Indeed.
Then I'm actually giving a talk this afternoon on the SDN data center, what NEC is doing for the SDN cloud data center. And I'm sitting on a panel this evening, and I'll be looking forward to answering questions at that time. And then tomorrow morning, our Executive Vice President, Hashimoto-san, who's in charge of the global SDN business for NEC, so he'll be giving a keynote. He'll be explaining NEC's leadership in the industry and how we're moving forward. And then on Friday, my colleague Dirk Kutcher is sitting on another panel, the mobile NFE and SDN panel, which will be a very interesting discussion because that's an area where there's been a lot of advancements and developments in recent times.
Good, okay, so a lot of involvement
Sure.
in this week. And let's go back a year.
Okay.
This time last year, almost to the day, in Darmstadt, also in Germany,
Sure.
the original white paper on NFE was published.
Sure.
At the same show, SDN and OpenFlow World Congress. What, in your opinion, has happened to SDN and NFV in the year since?
Okay, so that's a good question. NEC was very involved with the original authors of that white paper. We had been talking with them, we had been listening to their views, their requirements, and we had been contributing to the development of, should we say, the whole NFV, how products should look in an NFV world. And I think what's happened since then is that the ISG itself has made tremendous progress. The industry is certainly moving forward now with a common view. Indeed, as we can see at this event with all the presentations we're hearing from the carriers, and indeed from the vendors. What NEC has done is to very proactively use the outcomes and the developments of the ISG to inform our roadmap. And we've identified that the first virtualized network function that the market really needs is the virtualized Evolve packet core. So we have actually delivered or released a carrier grade, generally available virtualized Evolve packet core in June this year, and that's going into service.
You mentioned when we began about open source and other things you were doing here. Can you
Yeah.
put a bit more skin around the bones of that?
Absolutely. NEC has always believed that open source is to the benefit of the industry, of the customers, the users of that industry, and indeed us as developers and vendors. And right from the start, we released our OpenFlow controller as open source called Trima. And more recently, we've become fully involved with Open Daylight. And what we're doing for Open Daylight is we're contributing our virtual tenant network construct, the source code and the web-based API. And we're doing this because we've nurtured an ecosystem of partners over the past years. And we now have several partners which run with our OpenFlow controller. So we believe that by contributing to open source, we can grow that ecosystem even further so that each of our partners doesn't have to develop to a specific interface or framework or architecture, that we can work towards a more open interface.
There's been a lot of hype around SDN and NFE over the past couple of years, but
Sure.
the hype is dying away to some extent now as reality begins
Yes.
to take hold. Now, what have you seen as a result of the lessening of the hype and the increase of the reality? How easy, as it were, a sell is it into the operators? Do they understand what's going on? Are they keen to adopt it, or are they putting up barriers?
I think that's a very good point, because I actually think the operators are the ones, if you listen to the talks here at the event, the operators are the ones who are calling for this new type of paradigm, less hardware specific, more software oriented, a more liquid, more agile network, while maintaining absolute top quality carrier grade services. So I think basically the operators have set out what they want, and I think the industry is responding to that, and we certainly are.
Do you really believe that SDN has the power to transform business models in the way the marketing hype we've just been referring to would have us believe?
I think certainly yes, because if we look at the data centre, we'll be moving to a much faster, much more agile data centre, much quicker to deploy services. So I think you're going to get two things. You're going to get a reduction in costs. I think everybody understands that now. But also you're going to get much more agility in rolling out services. So I think that can definitely positively influence the bottom line and the top line and profitability as a result. Another point I would say, and this is getting back to the NFE sort of movement, what we have developed is a NFE functions, the first being the virtualized evolved packet core. We're basically moving that from a proprietary platform into a data center model. So actually carriers now, instead of, as these things progress, instead of looking at their operating model and indeed their cost base as being one of mixed cabinet and data center architectures, they can now evolve to a uniform, common set of platforms in a data center architecture, and that's going to, I think, really dramatically increase their cost base while enabling them to rapidly deploy new services to compete with the over-the-tops. So actually, I think it's going to have a very positive benefit on the business models going forward.
A final question to you. This, I assume, means there will be an impact on OSS as it exists today. What
Yes.
kind of an impact is that going to be?
I think that the OSS in the SDN world is going to have to do what it did in the pre-SDN world, but it's going to have to cope with physical and virtual environments, and it's going to have to support the migration from physical to virtual environments.
Okay, Gerry Feeney, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
TelecomTV, where ICT connects.